Howdy, folks, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. And tonight we got a great show for you. Oh boy, of course I'm not so prepared with my co-host, David Null, Hawkeye Two Feathers. Thank you for being here.
Greetings and blessings, my dear friends. Thank you all, as always, Robert. And Robert's a little dismayed and jumbled because he can't find a file. So y'all say a prayer real quick. Find the file. Find the file. But I always welcome you with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And we always hope that you're doing as well as possible under these obviously chaotic and crazy times. And I got 5 stories for you tonight, y'all, although they're not very long. So we can look forward to Pine Martine marries the Beads sisters. Oh, it almost sounds like a plot.
Yeah, as soon as I can find it. What's that too? I don't know where these things are. I don't even remember what. These flies are killing me! Man, flies everywhere! Oh, there's so many of them.
Do you have those fly strips?
Yes, I got fly strips hanging all over the house. It's like a.
Do you really?
Yes, I do. Yeah, you want to?
Knock on wood, we've not had to worry about that much this year.
Fly strips everywhere. Yeah. Anyway, fly strips up. I got fly strips here, fly strips there. Just freaking me.
You need a lizard.
Yeah, I need a lizard. Hello, everybody. Joanne Dancing Gypsy, thank you for being here tonight. F Kitty, Nina the Mystic, get window screen. Yeah, well, I leave the door open and then the dogs come in and out. You know, next thing you know, I got flies in the house. Chloe's here. Thank you for coming. Lucky Stone. Yes, it's Tuesday. And Travis, the architect, thank you all for being here tonight. Boy, we got a good show as soon as I can find my file, which I misplaced somewhere. What did I do with it? So just give me a few seconds and I will see what I can find. I know I have it here. It was all about, I spent 2 hours putting it together, you know, and then now I can't find it. What did I do with it? It should be right here on my desktop. Did I delete it by accident? That's the thing. And then I got to find that. What was that book we were reading on? You didn't give me the thing in the chapters today.
Akamawi.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Well, anyway, what have you been up to? Did you survive the hurricane?
Yes, moderatively. We got about 3.5 inches of rain here at the house. And I mean, we were right on the western edge. I mean, right on it. Just 10 miles west of me, and the rain quit, you know. So we were lucky we didn't get a lot of the really, 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 really heavy rain. In fact, in the 3.5 inches of rain I got here at the house, it never ran down the driveway hard. And that 3.5 inches of rain soaked in. It didn't rain so hard that it had to run off, and it didn't have any of that. So I'm really glad of that. So 3.5 inches of rain went in the ground. That's always grateful.
Nice.
Versus running off down in the ditch and someplace else downstream.
Nice. Well, anyway, I came up with this old book here. I had, my archives. And this one here is, of course, it's really old again. And there's some cool scribing in here because people could write back in the day. And this here book is called, and it's a really nice one, Border Wars of the West. Yeah, I can pull it up here without breaking the pages. These pages are really flimsy. Border Wars of the West. This is printed in 1855. Well, in 1855, Indians were still running around, but there's some really nice pictures and illustrations in here, if you can see that. And just point that up at you see. For being 1855, they had colored pictures. Did you know those colored pictures in these books were hand painted on? Believe it or not. But when they said this is of the West, they meant the west of the Appalachian Mountains. Oh yeah, look at Nina says there is new Milky Way hoodies, and you can get these shirts right here. This is the Milky Way Soul Tribe shirt. So check that out. Go to Nina's channel, support the Milky Way Soul Tribe and Nina, and get yourself a shirt. You can also get the ones that look like this with my big face on there, and it'll say Milky Way Soul Tribe with Robert V, if you can see that. Milky Way Soul Tribe with Robert V. And there you go. So I got a few extras. Hopefully I get some sent out. I got plenty for myself. But anyway, this was all about border wars. And basically, I picked out Kentucky because we've been talking about upper Pennsylvania. But what about lower Pennsylvania? Where did the people in lower Pennsylvania, the western half, and where did these people come from, and who was down there? That's the big question. And it was the Cherokee and the Shawnee, the Shawnee, not the Shoshone. That was the out west tribe. The Shawnee were out there, and of course, how did Kentucky get to where it is today? It was all because of, people going out there, and they wanted land. They wanted to move west to land. And I got some pictures here. If I can. No, this isn't the one. This isn't what I wanted. Oh, boy, am I having troubles tonight with the pictures. I can't even find your book. Anyway. It's just gone. Let's see. Okay. We are going to put up. Come on. The Shawnee were a back in the day. They were Fort Ancient culture. I never heard of a Fort Ancient culture before, but that was a spinoff of the Mississippian culture, I guess, and kind of led me down a new trail. Let's see if I got this. No, not blackfish. These things were bigger. Usually I got these things in order, but I don't tonight. So we're just going to have to wing it. Okay, so here we go. Sorry, everybody. Usually I'm way more prepared, but I am skating on thin ice every day because I get home really late now, and I just work too much. I can't wait till I have a day off. I haven't had a day off in days and months. Seems like, but anyway, at least 2 weeks, and it's getting to me. Don't forget to see Nina tomorrow for Hump Day. Yep, thank you. Have a great show. Thank you. Links in the description below if you need them. Yes, go get yourself a shirt just like this. Go over to Nina's merch channel or merch site and pick yourself out one. Please, 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 everybody. Elderberry's in the house. F. Kitty, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, everybody. Okay, now I'm going to do my presentation here. So, why did I choose this? Let's go with the Shawnee, because the Shawnee they were doing all the fighting, and we didn't realize it, or I didn't realize it, but that was Cornstalk. Remember last week we talked about Cornstalk, and Cornstalk was a Shawnee. So was Tecumseh. All of these Indians, because the Shawnee were the fighting Indians. They were also part of the Mingos, and too. So I was like, oh my gosh, I got to jump on this. So the language, the history, who are the Shawnee Native American people? The Shawnee people are the Native American group They previously resided in territories east of the Mississippi River, including regions now part of Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Tennessee. So if you live in one of those states, you would have been in Shawnee territory. They were categorized as northeastern woodlands people. And of course, there's a lot of woodlands in that area. Mountains and the Appalachian Mountains and woodlands and the flatlands. That's where they do a lot of the farming. It's in Illinois. Shawnee people are part of the indigenous linguistic group known as the Algonquin. The name Shawnee comes from Shoshwana, derived from the Algonquin word Shoshwama, meaning southerner. They came from the south. An individual Shawnee tribe or singular Shawnee person may be referred to as a Shoshwana. Shoshwana? Yeah. In the Shawnee language, Shoshwanoni is a Shawnee language. The Shoshone people have historically referred to themselves collectively as Squani or Shoshone. Today, there are three federally recognized Native American Shoshone groups with about 9,855 total tribal members between them. These groups are, and then it goes on. But anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting. The Shoshone tribe history, the Algonquin people as a whole are traced back to the subarctic regions of Canada. Now, how did they get from Canada all the way over there, to Tennessee and Kentucky and Illinois? I don't know. Over time, they spread further south. Go ahead.
They took a boat south.
Yeah, that's right. It's too cold up here in Canada. Let's go.
Well, they could have got on the Mississippi River or anywhere, way up north and literally came down the river. So,
yeah, exactly. Over time, they spread further south, moving through the Great Lakes region. The Shawnee are likely some of the first Algonquin people to move south. Their territory may have extended as far as South Carolina. Historically, Shoshone tribe maps show the Shoshone people are primarily associated with the Ohio River Valley and other areas east of the Mississippi River prior to European contact. And the Shoshone people were a coalition of 5 groups. Oh boy, I'm going to butcher these names. The Mokokche, the Pequawki, the Chakotay, the Kitspo, and the Hatawakia. Conflict with the colonizers, as well as the Iroquois, disturbed this initial structure and sent the Shawnee into several different regions. And as you can see here, here's the regions. Of course, interaction with the colonizers, that was never very good. The European colonization of their lands. In all the battles against the United States settlers in this time period, the British aided the Shoshone by providing them weapons and encouragement. The remaining Shoshone people of Ohio, primarily of the Menchokie and the Chillicothe groups, also participated in multiple attempts at armed resistance to colonization. Yeah, we were taking over their lands. The events included intertribal efforts such as Pontiac's Rebellion. Pontiac was a Shoshone. And in 1763, which brought together over a dozen tribes, including the Delawares, the Potawatomis, and many others. In Lord Dunmore's War of 1744, we kind of talked about that last week, the Shoshone people fought against the Mingo, a group associated with the Iroquois, with whom the Shoshone had a difficult history. However, shared goals of resistance helped both groups overcome historical animosity. Since some Shoshone people were hesitant to wage war against the colonizing forces, for example, Chief Cornstalk, we talked about him last week, of the Chillicothe band was cautious about the idea, fearing war with the Americans in the Revolution would be disastrous in the long term. In 1777, Kosqua went on a diplomatic mission to speak with American militias and better understand their aims. Heshkoshka was quickly taken prisoner and murdered by American forces, driving many Shawnee people to take up arms. There you go. You're the bad guy, and you walk in, and you want to make peace, and they just kill you off. One of these days we'll do the one about cornstalk, because that sounds interesting. Or cornstalk, right? Anyway, here we go. I have a picture of, this is the culture. They were moving. They were also, you can see here's the lakes, and as they move down or up, one or the other, I don't know where these scientists say they came from the north and came down, but they say they came from the south and came up, and they lived in this area of all the mounds, and you've been to Serpent Mound. So here's Serpent Mound. We got other sites over here. There's Hind Kemp, Sunwatch Village, Strokes, Baldwin. You can see those different places. So there's Clay Mound. All of these sites is kind of where that was their territory. Isn't that strange?
Can I interject something? These are archaeologists because they make me hurt. That they came from this direction. They came from this direction. Probably meandered around a lot. Did they come from any one direction? If anything, they did come from the south simply because it was warmer. But that doesn't mean that because there were a lot of tribes in Canada that did come south,
Mm-hmm.
And so this idea that, they migrated from here or there, they don't really know. They're guessing at best.
Yes, they are.
And some of their guesses are really bad. It's like up in the Ohio region, it would make sense that folks came in around the lakes rather than creeping up from the south. Because there was a lot of activity from, along the Great Lakes and the St. Lawrence River and the Seaway up in there and everything. I mean, there's a lot of traffic. So the idea that, they only came from the south to me is just ridiculous.
Exactly.
My humble opinion.
And as you can see here, here's Alabama down here. This would be, where is it? This is Tennessee over here, and you can see the Shoshone. They lived in Kentucky area, a little bit of Ohio, the whole region, and they were also bordered by the Cherokee. Now this is what caused them a lot of trouble because, and the Chickasaw and the Cherokee, because here you got your area, and the Cherokee came in, and this is where things went bad, is because the Cherokee sold the land over here in Kentucky because they thought they kind of owned it, and it wasn't really, it's just land. Oh well. So they took their money and ran, and people come moving in. People like Daniel Boone came moving in. They got mad. Of course, wouldn't you? And that started a lot of war stuff going on, which never very good, because you got different groups and they're all mad at each other. Okay.
She sounds like today.
Yeah, exactly. People in, and you got other people out.
Ain't nothing changed in 300 years, so.
Yeah, and as you can see here, we're going to be talking about the Cherokee too in this. It's going to be a two-parter because here's Kentucky, and all of these people are moving in from Virginia, North Carolina. The colonies are trying to expand, and the people are getting out here, and there's good land out here. They're crossing the mountains, and they're getting over here to Kentucky and Tennessee. And well, as time goes on, the government rounds all these people up, and they push them over to Oklahoma. And as you can see, here's you got the Cherokee, the Creek, the Choctaw, the Chickasaw, and Osage, the whole bunch of them. They moved them all over here. I don't know if there's probably the Shoshone too in here somewhere, but they didn't get quite a big chunk of land, did they? But like I said, it's kind of sad. They moved all of the tribes here and shipped them over to Oklahoma and said, yeah, there we go. Let's get them gone. Kind of not good. Anyway, because in the day,
consider this now. At the time, they considered Oklahoma worthless. That's why they gave it to them.
That's exactly right. It was worthless. And of
also
course,
they gave the Indians anything for free, right? They gave them Oklahoma because nobody else wanted it at the time.
That's right. That is right. And it was far out there. It was so far out, nobody really knew what was going on. So you got,
and it was on the other side of the Mississippi River, and it was on the other side of Arkansas too, which at the time, Fort Smith, Arkansas, was considered the end of civilization, and anything beyond that was like no man's land. That was the real Wild West. So, and Oklahoma is just on the other side of Arkansas. I mean, literally, they share a border. So it's like, so if you were in Oklahoma Territory, you weren't in Arkansas, so you weren't subject to the certain laws as you were when you cross. If you were in Oklahoma Territory, okie dokie, cross into Arkansas, ding, 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 they can hang you.
Yep. So as you can see, the 13 colonies are here. There's their borders. But this here, the proclamation line of 1763, this is the mountainous area, and the Indian. This is the Wild West out here. This is where the Indians were hunting all the beaver and the beaver wars, and of course they're fighting the Revolutionary War at the same time. And of course, we talked about how the British came in and they set up their territories here on the Great Lakes, and they were feeding the Indians all the guns and tools and things they could want by selling them for pelts, beaver pelts, deer hides, so they can make leather and things like that. Quite a good enterprise. You make weapons, you give them to the Indians, they fight your enemy, and then you get the stuff, and then they get killed, and it's a complete circle, isn't it? The fun never ends.
Yeah. Okay. Now something else. What that we're talking about 1850s?
Yeah, 1850s, 60s, 70s, right there.
Okay. Well, remember in the early 1850s, the steamboat still wasn't real prevalent. It was just being invented good. But when they started building steamships, they went up and down the Mississippi River and other rivers too. Any river that was navigable, they put a steamboat on it. And so, everything was, by sail or by rowing until the steamship came around. So when it did, it really opened stuff up.
Yeah. Okay. Everything is going dark on me here. Anyway, this is what a Shoshone Indian would look like in war paint. Anyway, their numbers were being depleted, and they were known for taking women and children, even boys, and incorporating them into their tribes. So that happened a lot more than you think. And ones they couldn't, they would use to barter with the British or the Americans. They would sell them, hold them for ransom. So it was a win-win on their part either way. The facts of the Shoshone tribe. One of the most recognized Indian tribes names in Ohio country was the Shoshone. They were known to be fierce warriors and to occupy much of the Ohio River Valley. They were involved in every major war that took place in the Americas up until the War of 1812. And their names showed up during the French and Indian War and the American Revolution, and they were well known by prisoners such as Daniel Boone. Yes, Daniel Boone. And as you can see, they were the fighting tribes of the Indians. If you wanted fighters, get the Shoshone out there. They are doing the fighting. Okay, and this is what a warrior would look like. They were known to put silver rings in their hairs and in their noses, cutting their hair short or plucking it, and decorating their faces or whatever. And this is the example of that. Kinds of things they would do if you met somebody. Shaman, and there we go. These are the type of houses they would live in. Everybody thinks, oh, they lived in teepees. They did not live in a teepee. They lived in this kind of a house, a bark-built, twig-built structure. We've kind of mentioned this before, but this is the kind of structure they would have been living in.
Sort of a wiki-up.
Yeah, same with this. It's kind of a grass hut type building. They do live in the woods, and you make your houses out of these type of materials.
Can I interject here? That
Yes.
picture there, right there. There are some tribes in Africa that they still build their houses and longhouses and things, and they look exactly the same.
Yes. Exactly.
I mean, but I don't think that they learned it, the Africans, okay? But it's interesting. The Africans have a very similar type of build. The structures look a lot alike.
Yes.
And made out of local materials and grasses and things, So I just am looking at that. I'm like, wow, I wish I could tell you what tribe that was. But I mean, they were showing how the women gathered the grasses and tied them together into bundles and helped build the structure. I mean, it was amazing, but they do these things in like a day. So, but anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Anyway, yeah. So this is type of housing and remember, before the early 1800s, there in the buffalo still roamed in these areas. They did have buffalo hunts. Tennessee, Indiana, all those areas. Illinois was buffalo country. Millions of buffalo roamed on the east coast side of the Mississippi up till probably about 1804 or 1812, and then they kind of killed them all off. Here's another area where they would be living. As you can see, they have the long houses with the open, hole in the roof to vent the smoke. This would be a typical Indian village. You see, you got corn, you got your fields of corn nearby. And you wouldn't have a teepee. There would be no teepee. I mean, I've seen so many pictures of a teepee, and yet I'm thinking, how can this be? What are these people trying to do? This is not, not right. You know what I mean? Anyway.
What do you mean?
It's a very confusing thing when you start thinking of it, because I look at there and you see these Shoshone, and they got big headdresses on, and they're in front of a teepee, and I'm thinking, but that's Western Indians.
That's right.
Yeah, and this is what I'm trying to get.
So until if they took a picture of you after they moved to Oklahoma, then everybody would have had teepees. They wouldn't have had longhouses like they, because they would have adopted more Western traditions, but also materials. So, interesting, that a lot of those designs and things are lost.
Yes. and to point out, they put it in the books as propaganda. So I'm going to stop sharing for a second, and I am going to show you. So this book, remember, this is 1855. This, see if you can see the picture, it shows teepees, right? And oh wait, there we go. It's showing teepees, pictures of teepees, and talking about Kentucky, which just blows my mind, because that's where they get the stigma of this, you know, for the Plains tribe. So they've been putting it in your head since the 1855. They've been saying, hey, oh, they all lived in teepees. That's all you need to know. Okay, so where are we going to go from here? Okay, so this is what would happen. You got a fort here. You got this dog. There's a story behind this, and this is take a good look at the picture. You got corn in the village. You got this is a correct picture. This would be a correct picture. This is an engaging the Shawnee village by John Buxton at August 8th, 1780. This battle took place on August 8th. That's the one we just seen right here. And this is the battle he's talking about. That's what I said. So this took place in 1780 during the Revolutionary War period. The British from Fort Detroit were supplying the natives to attack the colonists in Kentucky and elsewhere. The British built a stockade fort for the Shawnee at their village, which you can see in the upper right corner of this image. Under the leadership of George Rogers Clark, the men of Kentucky retaliated. They moved north to destroy as many Indian villages as possible while hoping to advance on Fort Detroit. There were a few villages and 6 miles of, can you imagine, 6 miles of planted corn. Remember how we were talking about 100-acre fields or whatever it is? 6 miles without a tractor. Along the flatlands of the Mad River, just west of today's Springfield, Ohio. This has been called the Battle of Piqua. The scenes shown in my painting is about mid-battle when Clark's men had attained a hill to the west of the stockade. Their 6-pound cannon shells shelled the fort, and a group of natives filed out to face off against Clark's men. A 13-year-old Tecumseh was said to have been living in this village and is shown holding the dog. George Rogers Clark's cousin, Joseph Rogers, was killed at this battle. He is depicted as the Caucasian Indian on the right side of the native hut. We'll go back to that. So that's him. He's the guy that got killed, and here you got the natives. And
in Ohio, they call the town Piqua.
Piqua? Okay. Okay, but this here would have been Tecumseh holding his dog as the battle rages here in 1780. We all know what happened with Tecumseh. Okay, and if you don't, we'll go through it again sometime. So that was a short. So now, okay, I have. Oh, why isn't this bigger?
Yeah, Tecumseh started a small engine factory for lawnmowers. Yes. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. Why is this?
It's a joke, son. It's a joke. Tecumseh engines.
I don't know why this is so small, but anyway. Okay, maybe I can make this bigger. I don't know why. I thought here's a short video of this guy talking about.
So the largest river that we knew, we called that Grandfather River, or the Mississippi. Our words for a nut that falls from the tree is pecan. And for something sweet, because we did not use sugar, we used the syrup from the maple trees. And from cane, we called that molasses. Our word for lake is Kitchicum. But for the Great Lakes up north, we call that Michigan. And for a land that has many deep ravines and bottleneck canyons, we call that Hawkeye. And that is where I am today, the Hawkeye.
He said it so well, way better than I could. Okay. I got another one.
In the tumultuous back.
Okay, so this one here is talks about. I don't know if you guys can hear all this. I hope I got the volume up good. But this talks about the Indians too.
Drop of 18th century America, Tecumseh, a Shawnee chief born during a meteor shower in 1768, rose to legendary status. Known as the Panther passing across, his life was marked by relentless resistance against white encroachment on native lands. His father, Puck-Shinla, died in 1774 fighting.
So you can see that in this is the 1700s. It was all war for years and years and years. And when you're born into war, you grow up that way. You are a warrior, right? I guess. I mean, you grow up as a warring person.
Colonists, setting Tecumseh on a path of defiance. By 1783, he joined a confederation of tribes opposing American expansion. Despite initial successes, they were defeated at the Battle of Fallen Timbers in 1794. Tecumseh, alongside his brother Tenskwatawa, founded Prophetstown in 1808, rallying tribes for a united stand. However, the Battle of Tippecanoe in 1811, led by Governor William Henry Harrison, decimated their efforts. Aligning with the British during the War of 1812, Tecumseh achieved victory at Fort Detroit but was killed in 1813 at the Battle of the Thames. His death crushed the Pan-Indian dream, paving the way for the Trail of Tears.
We talked about him. We did a whole show on him, which I thought was pretty cool. And I got another one here. No. Anyway, and we'll have to go back over it. One of these. Why is that? This is terrible. This thing all messed up. I don't know why this is so messed up. Huh. I think I found my missing folder, sort of, somewhere. Anyway, I wonder why it's really messed up. Why did some I'm gonna stop sharing here. Why did some native tribes have teepees and wigwams? Because they were two tenths. I get it, 2/10. Kitty, teepee was a plains tribe. They were highly mobile, and the teepees were buffalo hide. At least that is why they always said in an old books. Yes, they had to be mobile. But the tribes, as you can see from these things we've been talking about, they set up cities. They set up a city with hundreds and hundreds of people. You can't be mobile when you got 1,000 people living in your city. A big city.
And there was it wasn't necessary to be mobile by the folks east of the Mississippi, because they had 6 miles of corn growing, and they had 2-foot ears of corn growing, and they were well established. So the Plains Indians, and I saw a cowboy movie Sunday, I think, but in it they had teepees and the Indians and everything, and I've noticed that the teepees were real teepees, and they were sewn together hides. And that's how they made them back in the day. They took hides together, mostly buffalo hides, tanned them out, and then sewed them together. So, when you see some of these other teepees, they're all nice and canvas and everything. Those weren't the original ones. The original ones were sewed together.
Yep. Okay, I found the right folder. Well, not that folder, but this thing in my computer is really giving me troubles tonight. Okay, so I got another one here, but this is all the mistakes that people put together, and it's kind of sad because they're mixing the Plains tribes Indians with the regular Indians. Yeah, I mean, there's the forest Indians,
the Eastern tribes.
Eastern tribes, yes, that's it. Yeah, save me from my my twisted tongue. Anyway, so here's another one, but you can see this guy here is definitely a Plains Indian.
The redcoats crawled across our land like a plague of locusts,
Plains
leaving only
Indian.
dust and despair. I, Black Moccasin,
Plains
Shawnee
Indian.
chief, would not see our hunting grounds choked by fences. While others cowered, I led my braves on the warpath. We were shadows in the forest, striking British camps with fury. They called us savages, but they feared the wild spirit that burned in our hearts. The redcoats.
See, they got some of it right, but then they just mixed it with the wrong ones, because we know that one picture was a blue jacket, and then there was red jacket, and there was corn stalk in there, but these other guys, that was like Little Bear and Bigfoot and Plains Indians guys.
Right.
It's really
Well, it's because there are only so many stock photos of Indians, and they just used what they had, figuring nobody would notice.
And yeah, because most people look at stuff and they just think of the Indian with teepees, and but that's why we're here. So we're here to.
They were more than just teepees.
Exactly. So the history of the border wars in Kentucky, and there's a lot to this, but a lot of it boils down around. We're going to get started from this old book of how it got started, and it's in 1758. Dr. Walker, a gentleman of Virginia, led a small exploring party over the Cumberland Mountains into what is now part of the state of Kentucky. His traveling was confined to the mountainous part of the state, and in consequence, he had not so favorably impressed as those who succeeded him. And this is one of the first guys over to Kentucky, and he's saying, I don't see anything good here. And the report which he brought back from the country was in fact so unfavorable that it was 9 years before it was again visited. And then it was not from Virginia, but from North Carolina that the intruders came. We call them intruders because the Indians very early looked upon them in that light. The party to which we referred was headed by John Finley and was composed of hunters. They were in a prominable, more used to traveling through an uncultivated country than Walker and his company, so not so easily discouraged. The variety and the profusion of game which was characterized by Kentucky was calculated to arouse the enthusiasm of men. So the place was teeming with game. And accordingly, when they returned, they gave so glowing an account of the new country that it excited their inherent aspiration and a sneering skepticism in proportion as the suspicious preponderated in a character of each auditor. So they went around telling everybody how great this place was. And of course, people are gonna, hey, it's a great place, I want to move there. Why? You're safe where you're at. You don't think you got it. The part I don't understand is back in those days, people, you look at Georgia, for instance. You live in Georgia, and you're telling me the other day, oh, there's only like so many, we don't have many people around here, right? It's kind of not that populated. Can you imagine how unpopulated it would have been in the early 1700s or the mid 1700s?
Yeah, like nobody.
Yeah, but yet the people that lived there were saying, it's too populated. I gotta move out of this place. I gotta go find me some land in Kentucky and battle Indians because there's not so many people there to bother me. It just doesn't make any sense sometimes, but I guess the territory of Kentucky.
Here's the thing. Remember this. It's always looking for your fortune. So, the West is open. So that means nobody has, there might be something just, a meteor, a huge rock that's nothing but gold, and you're going to find your fortune. So because the West is open. So there was all this stuff about it. So even though you might have had a place and that you were fairly comfortable, there were still those folks who gave the stories of how, unique the West was. And if you move out here, it's even better than you got. And, and folks are never satisfied with what they have. So they always, had a tendency.
Oh, F. Kitty says free land. There's no such thing as free land, believe it or not. There's always money to be made, and we're going to tell the story about the money to be made. The territory of Kentucky was not occupied by any Indian tribe, but was held in common as a hunting ground by all the nations around. It is not to be supposed that these various tribes, often at war with each other, would meet here in peace. Consequently, the blood of man, as well as the elk and the buffalo, was often poured out upon the virgin soil. So frequent indeed were these encounters that the natives conferred upon the region the name of the dark and bloody ground. Nor did its subsequent history prove it was worthy of the appellation. 2 years after the visit of Finley and his companions, the former led another party to Kentucky. Among those who constituted it was none other than Daniel Boone, a name inseparably connected with this early settlement of the country. There are many different accounts as to the place of his birth. Pennsylvania or Virginia, Maryland, each have its turn and been appointed out as an honorable location. We have even heard it asserted that he was born in England. Of course, we have no idea. It was so long ago. The greatest probabilities seem to have been Pennsylvania. The dispute, however, the consequences cannot be affected the question, the importance of his life. Daniel Boone was an important guy. On all accounts, we agree. At this time, it was past the age of which men generally wish to be settled in life. So he was already getting old before, because when you settle in down there, by 18, you're married and you got kids coming on the way. So there you go. But he was addicted to roving habits, and the description of the country awakened in him as much enthusiasm as thought he had been still in his heyday of life. Wow, he was over his heyday already? On the 1st of May, 1769, as he himself tells us, he left North Carolina in company with 4 others. Of these, Finley was one of the others, and John Stewart. The names of the rest are not given. It was not till the 7th of June that they had saw from an immense in the emissary in the neighborhood of the Red River, a branch of Kentucky, the fertile plains of the region, and they saw it. Oh, I didn't do this part. I was going to, so we can get a good look at this. So here he is, and, where is he coming out of? Virginia? So he's in Virginia here, and he's crossing right over here, and you got Kentucky right there. So there you go. Oh, here the adventurers rested a while, building a cabin, which was their headquarters, while they explored the vicinity. In December, Boone and Stewart left the rest and penetrated into the interior. They had as yet received neither encouragement or threatening from the Indians, having seen none, but they did not long enjoy their impunity. Soon after leaving the camp, Boone and his companions were surprised and captured by a party of Indians. Go figure. They remained with them 7 days, during which time they deported themselves in such a manner as to completely deceive their captors as to their intentions. On the 7th night, the guard whom the prisoners had rendered unsuspicious fell asleep, and an opportunity which the latter did not allow to escape them. Stealing noiselessly away, they struck immediately for the camp of their friends, but on arriving there, they found it deserted. Wow. Big surprise, right? The fate of his companions was never known to Boone. So We'll call 411 missing. They, the question is, they just up and leave their camp, and well, he hasn't been back for 7 days. He's not coming. He must be dead. Let's go home.
Well, it might be that if they didn't know, that might be that they got absconded by natives as well.
It could have been. Soon after, they were joined by the brother of Boone and another man who, coming from North Carolina, accidentally fell upon the camp. The reinforcement, especially the meeting with his brother, came very sensibly to encourage Boone after the destruction of, or the desertion of his comrades. But the new misfortunes were in store for him. In a second incursion into the interior, Stuart was killed by the Indians. He is supposed to have been the first white man killed in Kentucky. Directly after Boone lost his only remaining companion, the man who had come from North Carolina with Squire Boone, or so Daniel's brother is generally called, on one account says he returned to the settlements discouraged by the danger, but it is stated by others that he was devoured by wolves. So,
Ew.
Yeah, he either got killed by. See, this is the thing. I often wonder how many people actually just went out in the woods and disappeared, because and your relatives all think, well, you got killed by wolves or the Indians, or you just died, you fell off
bears.
Bears, anything, yeah. And nobody's going to come out and find you or rescue you. Okay, so the ammunition of the brothers, was by this time nearly exhausted, and Squire Boone returned to North Carolina for a fresh supply, leaving Daniel alone in the wilderness. And this is another part. It's like, okay, you ran out of ammo, and you got to travel like 200 miles to town to get more bullets. That's kind of, I got to travel to the next state so I can get some bullets, man. This situation, however, did not produce the effect on Boone, which it does on most men. So his brother is leaving him out into the wilderness all by himself with a handful of shells, or balls, and black powder, and saying, "See you later, I'll be back." Oh boy, the life of a woodsman was too congenial to his nature to allow him to become melancholy in Kentucky. He felt some natural regret at parting from his brother, but he continued to roam the country without fear. He received no injury from the Indians, nor does it appear that he saw any, though he often found signs of their presence. In July, his brother returned with the ammunition, and they continued together, hunting through the country with perfect immunity till the spring of 1771. So they're out in this wilderness for like a year. When Daniel returned to North Carolina, accompanied by his brother for the purpose of taking his family out to Kentucky. During Boone's stay in Kentucky, a party from Virginia had also visited, under the guidance of Colonel Knox. From the length of time they were absent, they were familiarly called the Long Hunters. It does not appear that they saw anything of Boone during their wanderings. The result of both expeditions was to excite a spirit of enterprise among the people of North Carolina and Virginia. Boone set out with his family on the 25th of September, and he was joined by several other families and a number of adventurers, so that the party contained 40 armed men. Confiding in their strength, they now prosecuted their journey fearlessly, but they were soon taught by a severe lesson that their object was only to be attained at a price of blood. Now, if they're going through this, and I don't know if it shows a picture with covered wagons going through the woods, but I read in other parts there was no path to go through the woods with covered wagons. They would have had pack animals, and they had a walk, through wilderness. Go ahead.
Listen, I have been in Boone, North Carolina, and I did puppet shows and storytelling up there for 4 days in a place called Trade, Tennessee, which is literally a half a mile from the North Carolina border on top of this mountain. And Daniel Boone and I'm sorry, yeah, right, Daniel Boone, yeah, Boone, North Carolina. So from Boone, North Carolina, where supposedly he was from, and that's where all the history in that area is, to go up the side of that mountain is treacherous in a vehicle today with paved roads. And the idea that they took covered wagons up the side of them mountains, nah, there was barely a trail. There was barely a path. Now, when they got over the mountain to where the land, evened out some, now there you could get covered wagons on the other side, okay, because on the other side there are open plains and so forth. But from Boone, North Carolina up the mountains, they did not leave with covered wagons. They may have picked them up on the other side, but they did not leave with them. There's no way they would have got them up them mountains.
There was nobody on the other side. Remember, they're in unknown territory.
No, but on the other side of Boone is Tennessee. I mean, directly on the other side, on top of that mountain is Tennessee. When you cross over to the other side of the mountains, unless you go straight north from Boone, which is even more mountains, you cross over the mountains into what's now Tennessee, and then go north of there, and you're not far from Kentucky, from southern Kentucky. And Virginia, where the Kentucky and Tennessee and all of them come together up there. So, and there's still not much in Virginia, in that little area of Virginia right now. But the other thing I wanted to make about Kentucky, if they crossed over the Cumberland Gap, which I think was further north, into Kentucky, from Virginia over into Kentucky, Kentucky's very mountainous, and there's nothing there. I have been through that area several times, and it's coal mining country. So it's not even any good to plant anything. And even to this day, back in the coal mining days, part of my family was from there, and they moved up into Ohio to Dayton because it was so bad in Hazard County in Kentucky. That they couldn't even grow a plot of land, to feed their families. And the only way that they could survive was by working the coal mines. So, but pioneers back in the day, they would have crossed over into those mountains of eastern Kentucky and went, there ain't nothing here. I don't see what, they've got some nice valleys, but not great big fertile valleys like further west. So I could see where the earlier years went back.
Well, like I said, the first guy that went in there, he gave the same spiel you just gave. There ain't nothing there. I'm going back. and
there's not. I mean, even to this day, it's a beautiful drive up through there, but there's still nothing up there, but still some coal country. But that it's a beautiful drive, but there ain't nothing there.
Yep. Okay, let's go on. Near the Cumberland Mountains, they were suddenly attacked by a party of Indians, and though they succeeded in repulsing them, they lost 6 men, among whom Boone's oldest son. After the battle, the emigrants deemed it unwise to proceed any further, and accordingly, they abandoned their project temporarily and returned to the settlements. Boone remained on the frontier till 1774. When the Indian War breaking out, he was employed by Dunmore to bring home a number of surveyors. Remember, we were talking about the surveying the land and selling it off. And I forget who said, is that land free? Nothing is free. Okay. Bringing surveyors from the rapids of the Ohio, which he accomplished. He afterwards, like Kenton, and many other pioneers of Kentucky, engaged in the operations of this war. In 1773, Captain Thomas Billet, who had greatly distinguished himself in the Forbes expedition against the Fort Duquesne descended the Ohio. He made a visit unattended and unannounced to the Shawnee town of Chillicothe. In a talk which he held, Chillicothe, okay. In a talk which he held with the inhabitants, he told them that the English had purchased the land south of the Ohio at Fort Stanwix in 1768. He said that he knew neither of the Shoshones or the Delawares had received any of the price which was paid for the land. But he said also that it was intended to give them a present to make it up for it. He told them that he intended to settle in the country south of the river and assured them of his friendly disposition, to all that they replied they had no objection to him settling there, provided he did not interfere with their hunting. After rejoining his companions, he continued the descent of the river till he reached the rapids. Here he encamped. He made several surveys in the neighborhood, and it is said selected a site of Louisville at the eligible place of a settlement. So he established Louisville, and that would be Tennessee, Louisville, Tennessee, I don't know, or Kentucky. He died soon after his return to Virginia, and thus Kentucky was deprived of the one who doubtless would have proved an expert pioneer. Billet was accompanied for a considerable distance down the Ohio by the McPhees from Bonacourt, Virginia. They separated at the mouth of the Kentucky River, which the McPhees ascended. They made surveys, including part of the town of Frankfort, and returned home to make preparations for removing to Kentucky or heading there. But they, like others, were delayed by the Indian War. The first house erected in Kentucky was built by James Herod in the spring of 1774, and it does not appear that the owner remained long in Kentucky immediately after completing it. For all the fall, he was engaged in the Battle of Point Pleasant. He returned, however, in the spring the next year. The settlement was reinforced, and the place was called Harrodsburg after the pioneer. In 1775, Henderson and some other gentlemen of North Carolina purchased of the Cherokees, who laid claim to it all. See, this is where things get really mixed up. The Cherokees laid claim to the whole place, and then they said, well, we'll just sell it off. Why not, right? The land lying between Kentucky and Tennessee rivers, Daniel Boone was one of the agents employed to effect this purchase. The state of Virginia refused to acknowledge the validity of this bargain, contended that the territory was within the limits of their original charter, no party but herself, and the right to make purchases there. The assembly consented, however, to reimburse the company for their trouble and their expense. This they did by giving them a tract of land on the Green River, in consideration of which the claim of the company had acquired from the Cherokees was made over to Virginia. Soon after, Boone was employed by Henderson to select and mark out a route for the party which was going to his land. This duty he performed traveling with a few men, and was not disturbed until he reached the spot near where he afterwards founded Boonesboro. I don't know if you've ever been to Boonesboro, where he was attacked by the Indians with great fury. 4 of his men killed or wounded, though the Indians were lengthily driven off. This next day they were renewed with the attack and killed or wounded 5 more of his men before they again were repulsed. On the 1st of April, Boone commenced building a fort on the Kentucky River, which was by the beginning of the settlement of Boonesboro. While whites were engaged in this construction, a bunch of their people were killed in the midst of these attacks. However, Boone persevered, and the fort was completed on the 14th of the month. Boone then returned with his family, fully determined to make Kentucky his permanent abode. He accomplished his purpose without suffering an attack from the Indians. Miss Boone and her daughter were the first white women who entered Kentucky. Not long after their arrival, the female portion of the colony received strong reinforcement. 3 other families came to Harrodsburg of the names McGravy, Hogan, and Denton. In December, Boonesboro was again attacked, and one of the settlers was killed. And I'm going to stop right there, but I'm just going to explain a little bit of this. So Daniel Boone was hired. This company had made a deal with the Cherokees for the land, and after they got it, they started, surveying it and selling the land to pioneers who would come out and settle there. So you could buy this really cheap land. Unfortunately, they were surveying, and other companies were coming in there and surveying this big tracts of land too now. And what happened was sometimes people would buy a chunk of land, and somebody else would buy the same chunk of land, and they're both trying to get it, put title in their name. And you had to go to like North Carolina or Virginia to get that land documented in your name, because there was nobody out there in those states like Kentucky or Tennessee to do that. They were just empty areas claimed by those other states. You know what I'm saying? So
the reason why they had to the reason the government had to survey it was so that they could, because a survey so many chunks of land, and they put in a post, and I got a bench. They're called benchmarks. I got a benchmark right up the top of the driveway from me on the road. And so the benchmark says where you're at, your latitude, longitude, and all that kind of thing. So, but back in the day, there were people who said, well, I've got title to this land. And if you go down by the creek, it goes from the creek down to this big, and to this cliff, and then it goes north by so many paces. And that's how they surveyed it. And then the real surveyors came in with, transoms and all that kind of stuff, and plotted it out. And then folks said, well, wait a minute, I bought this piece and it said from the creek to the cliff, and now you're saying I don't own that? No, because it's this plot of land and we've got it on a map now. Uh-oh. Yeah. So there was a bunch of stuff. But that was one of the biggest issues in the early days.
They were talking about how some of the surveyors out there would just mark on trees where your land was. And, well, how do you know that tree over on the corner there has got my mark on it? That's where my land stops. Well, that's not really, a good spot, because the tree could fall down, it could burn up. You cut it down, and
somebody could come by and chop it down, so that your claim to that where that tree is, there's no tree there now. It's like, well, wait a minute, it was here the other day.
Exactly. So those were the things to do. But what was happening is these big, just same as things happen now. The big corporation comes in there, they give the Indians, whatever they want. And then they say, okay, now we got all this land. They send in their peons to do the surveying and, divide up the land the best they can. And then they sell it off. So, hey, I can buy some land over there in Kentucky for 2 cents an acre. So I bought, 10,000 acres. Great. You go over there to get your 10,000 acres or whatever it might be. And you're thinking, I got all this land. Well, you haven't even seen the land. You get you know what I mean? But the company that's selling it paid like nothing for it. They gave them some pots and pans and some, bullets or shells or whatever it is. And, a couple $100.
But right? See what, now the company that play the devil's advocate is that the money has to, but surveyed so that they could sell it.
Yeah.
So it was their investment. Even though they didn't pay anything for the land, they did have to pay for the surveying. But that set up the plot scheme, you know, and so now that it's surveyed, now we got control over it.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, you know, they got the land for little next to nothing. They surveyed, and as long as they're surveying it and then, you know, off, they're making out, you know, they're paying, you know, junk surveyors basically. And you know, you get the land for pennies on the dollar. And the people that live there, you know, the Shawnee who were hunting there and stuff, the Cherokee said, you know, yeah, we'll sell it to you, but it wasn't theirs to sell. That's where the problem.
Yeah, but not only that, think about this. Chief Humpty Scrunch signed his name, sells some property, right? Yeah. You know, 50 miles south, you know, they never heard of Chief Humpty Scrunch. Somebody says, well, I got a piece of paper that says I own this, and the Cherokee's going, own? What's that? Piece of paper? What's that? But I own this land. But, you know, the Cherokee, he's like, yeah, but I've lived here all my life and so my ancestors. What do you mean you own this? Then the war started.
Yeah.
But the white man, to his point, he had the piece of paper. He had the survey marks, you know, so, but from his standpoint, you know, the Indian was the savage of the group, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. Travis says you're getting a little choppy there. I think all the internet is a little choppy today. I'm trying to find that book. What the heck was it called? I'm gonna have to look it up again. It just isn't on my screen anymore. I am so sorry about that. It is gone. How did things like that happen? Oh, you're gonna have to tell me which book that was. So I'm gonna conclude my story there, and I'm gonna have to find which book was that Indian book?
Start with the name Akamawi.
Oh, you gotta pick a hard one.
ACH. OM.
I got it. Okay.
And we way down. Let's see, what page number is that? 23.
$23, 21, 22, 23. Got it. Believe it or not, I can find that stuff pretty darn good. Okay. Travis, ding, 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 ding. Oh, that's Travis's. Yeah, apparently your internet's breaking up a little bit today.
Yeah, I just got kicked out just a few minutes ago and had to log back.
Must be that hurricane going through. The leftovers.
Must be the AI.
Yes, exactly.
Hi, Bob.
Joanne says Britain is suffering the same demise as the immigrants coming in and don't want to simulate. Civil war will break out. Yes, that's absolutely true. So that's what happened here is the immigrants, which was the Americans, were coming in, the patriots they call them, were coming into Tennessee and the Indian lands, and it was backwards. So instead of, or actually it's just what's happening now. So instead of the Indians saying, you're coming into our land, you need to assimilate, you know, and be like us, it was the immigrants coming into the land and saying, no, you gotta be like us. You gotta build houses and grow crops. And they're like, yeah, we grow crops and we do houses, and we hunt buffalo and we do things like, no, you got to have a cow and a pig and a house and dressing clothes, and you can't be out fighting your enemies like this. You got to do like we do. And the natives are like, we don't want to believe in your church stuff and religion and change our beliefs and live in houses. This isn't who we are. I think.
And on top of that, who said we don't own this land anymore?
Yeah, exactly.
Because just because somebody made a deal somewhere, the rest of the tribes everywhere else didn't get the memo.
Well, yeah, no internet back then. They were just like, send a runner over there, whatever, maybe he'll get there or not.
So the pioneers go west and say, oh, but this is free land. And the Indians are going, what?
Yeah, we live here. It'd be just like you. And then somebody comes and shows up one day and just puts a tent out in your backyard or front yard or whatever and says, well, this looks like a good piece of land. I think I'll live here. I'm going to build a little house.
No, but they pulled a piece of paper out and say, I own this now. And I'd be going, what?
Yeah.
Not that they just put a tent on, but that they came with a piece of paper and said, I own this now. And I'd go, wait a minute, I've been living here for the last 45 years. Where the hell are you? And so I can imagine them be fighting words.
Yes, exactly. And of course you get mad. And then when you get mad, then 40 of their buddies show up and say, wait a minute, he owns that land. And if you want to fight him, we are going to haul you away to a different chunk of land and put you in the jail, pretty much, or prison or reservation. Because, you got to simulate like him. And you got to do like him now, blah, blah, blah.
I firmly believe that if immigration had stopped, and that it was just the white man versus the Indian, the white man would have lost.
Yes.
If the white man hadn't been, for more immigrants coming in, so they kept replenishing, the stock. So, and I think that if they'd, white man, at that particular point has just been white man versus red man, white man would have lost the war.
Would have, yeah. And at some point or another, the ratio was pretty even back in Jamestown. If the Indians would only piped up at that point and wiped everybody out, not saying that they should have, but I'm saying is that if they would have wiped everybody out then, they would have had a pretty good chance, but they didn't. And then of course more people landed, and then next thing you know, the population's even, and then the next thing you know, after that it was there's 40,000 settlers, and there's only 20,000 Indians, and then there's 10,000 Indians, and then there's 5,000 Indians, and they're selling off their land because basically that's the only thing they got. That's they had that the white man wanted. What do you got? Well, we got the furs from the animals, so we shot all the animals. Now we don't have any. Well, now we what do we got? What do you got left? Oh, how about we buy that land? Well, okay, I ain't using that chunk of land over there. Right?
Yeah. And then the Trail of Tears came.
Yeah. And then eventually they were like, there's so few of you, we're just going to march you over to a whole different area. And you got land over there. Have fun with it. Anyway, okay. It's all you now. This is the one you want?
Yep, that's the one. Now, I am going to read this. I am going to read this little bit because I find it interesting, or at least part of it. And I'm going to start with the story. Okie dokie.
Okay.
All right. So, as our continuing, storytelling reading, this is the Akamawi Mist. Now, we just finished off a section, and these were collected above and beyond what we just read the last couple of weeks. So the following myths were collected by Jeremiah Curtin for the Bureau of American Ethnology. They were placed into the hands of the author for preparation for insertion into this journal, and in doing so, he made no changes other than to give the English names for various characters, and to add a word or two here and there where the original manuscript was obscure or imperfect because of hasty copying. One myth has been omitted from the series, as it is only a brief version of the Loon Woman myth already published in this journal. So it says it was imperfect because of hasty copying. So a lot of times these stories back in the day, they went out to a tribe and then they were literally copying these things down in journals or notebooks. And so they'd make notes and they'd write along, and then they'd get back and type them up into manuscripts. So this is what they're talking about where the original manuscript was obscure, meaning that the handwriting, they couldn't tell what was going on. So, but anyway, they take care of trying to preserve these stories is, I think, what is the most important part of this. So there are 5 stories in this next little section, and the first one starts, Pine Marten marries the Bead sisters. The 2 bead girls were sent by their mother to marry Cocoon Man's son. He was wrapped up and put away. He had never been outside and had never eaten anything. The Bead sisters came from a place far off in the ocean. They came on the water, brought by the wind, and they always sang on the wind. It took just one day for them to reach and like the 2 girls and gave them food. All the men were out hunting, and the daughters sent the 2 girls into the sweat house and told them to sit by Pine Marten's bed. They could not get Cocoon Man's son, the one their mother had sent them for. Cocoon Man would not listen to it. So they took Pine Marten 3 days with him. At the end of that time, they wanted to go home. Pine Marten asked all his people for blankets and shells to give his wives to carry home. They started. Cocoon Man made a trail to the west to walk on. He sent put his hand out west and east to make a trail, and immediately it was open. Cocoon Man sat on the ground in the center and made a rainbow, reaching from the place where he sat to the home of the girls. The company started. Weasel went with Pine Marten up to the top of the rainbow, and the women went under it. While they were traveling, Weasel made a flute out of a reed and made sweet music that sounded through the world and was heard by every living. The 2 sisters walked on the lower rainbow, the reflection, and reached home safely. Next year, Pine Marten had children. He made a boy of bead shells, and from a round shell which he threw into his wife, a girl was born. In the spring of the 2nd year, he came back on the same trail that Cocoon Man had made. His children grew very fast. Then he left his boy at home and sent his girl to her grandmother in the ocean. The boy stayed with Cocoon Man. The 3rd year, he had 2 sons and 2 daughters. Now Pine Marten's wife took 1 son and 1 daughter to her mother in the ocean. And Pine Marten kept 1 son and 1 daughter, and they lived with him at Fall River. Number 2, kangaroo rat races with coyote and others. 2 kangaroo rat women, a mother and her daughter, lived near Coyote's place. Now the people at this place hunted all the time, but never sent any meat to the old woman. She said, "It is best to get a man to hunt for us. I do not like these people. They are too proud." Her daughter said, "I will run a race with these men, and I'll bet myself against a man. I'll win and have a husband." The next morning, the girl went over to Coyote's house when the men were just through breakfast. She went on top of the sweat house and called out, "I want to race with one of your boys. Today I feel like running." Coyote said, "All right. The chief man always run first. I will run with you first." He went out and they started towards the north and ran until he fell down dead. The girl came home, and that night Cocoon Man said, "I know what she's trying to do. When women want to marry us, they always kill us first. These are bad women." Next day she came to the house and asked again to run with a man. Badger ran with her. He ran northward, turned to come back, reached a mountaintop, and died. Next day, Silver Fox went out to run with her. He ran far to the north, came back halfway, and fell dead. Ground Squirrel ran, came halfway home, and died. Kangaroo Rat was coming home slowly. She came more slowly each time. First, she had always returned in the middle of the morning, but this time she was back about noon. The mother thought, "My daughter will fail. I am afraid she gets too tired too easily." The girl ran the next day with Wolf, but he died, and she reached home still later. Now she had killed all but 3 men. Pine Marten ran the next day. They kept together. The girl thought he was going to win, but when he came into the valley and almost reached home, he fell dead. The last man left were Weasel and his brother from the mountain. They were angry because Marten had been killed. They were going to take an ox-skin quiver. One of the brothers was to rest in it. So when the other became tired, this one would jump out and carry the tired one. When then the other one had rested and was fresh, he would jump out and take his turn. Thus they would run and carry each other alternately. The two looked alike, and the girl thought she was running with one. The mountain brother of Weasel sang. They ran near the girl all the time. They found the bones of Coyote, picked them up, and put them in the otter skin quiver. Came to the other bones, picked them up also. While they were picking up bones, the girl, thinking she had beaten Weasel, turned and looked back. He called out, "Don't look back. I can outrun you. Girls cannot run fast." She was frightened at his words and ran on as fast as possible. When one brother was tired, the other came out, and the first went into the quiver. Weasel called out, "Run fast. I'm going to eat you." The girl began to give out. While Weasel was running, she thought she noticed a difference in the song and looked back. He called out, "Go on fast." It was near sundown now. The old woman saw them coming. The two Weasel brothers, as one, reached the sweat house first. The young woman went with them to their sweat house and did not go back to her mother. That evening they put the bones in the water, and the dead all came to life. The girl went in the morning to her mother's house to get roots, and the men went hunting. She always sent plenty of meat to her mother after that. The end of number 2. Story number 3. The Buzzard Brothers and Woodworm. 2 Buzzard brothers lived together near Pit River. Lived Woodworm, the last of his race. All the other Woodworm people had been killed by Western men. Woodworm lived alone one winter, and when the winter was past, he began to think of going west to see what kind of place it was where his people had been lost. He thought 4 or 5 days before starting and got his weapons ready. Then he sent Cottontail Rabbit to the Buzzard Brothers to tell them of all he intended to do, and to say from him, "I'll come and visit you in 2 or 3 days." The brothers said, "All right, we are glad that you are coming." Both brothers were married, each having a wife and mother-in-law. Buzzard Brothers got ready to go on the journey. They made flint knives out of their own feathers. These flint knives stuck out through their buckskin dresses, and when they were good-humored, the knives were smooth like feathers. When angry, they stuck out like knives and killed every man they touched. On the 3rd day, the Buzzard Brothers were looking for Woodworm. They did not wait long, for he came early. All were glad, smoked, took breakfast, and then set out, reaching Sun's house about sundown. The people there were astonished and said, "We thought all these men were killed." "No," said Sun, "there are more yet. They keep back the best. These that have just come are the smartest. They are hard to kill." Sun sent his daughter to marry Woodworm, a very fine-looking man. He went to where the girls had fixed a place for him to sit. The Buzzard Brothers did not like to enter Sun's house, but as Woodworm went in, he followed. Sun was very kind to brothers and said, "I am glad you boys, and I am glad to have my daughters married." Then he said, turning to Woodworm, "My son-in-law, take good care of me. I like my daughters to have a husband." The Buzzard Brothers were very angry. They wanted to fight immediately, for they knew that Old Man Sun was trying to fool them. Woodworm listened to the old man in silence, filled his pipe, and smoked. Sun's wife was cooking acorn mush, salmon, and other fish for supper. She brought plenty of food to her daughters, and the young men all ate heartily. They went to bed. In the morning, a great many people came to the house wanting to sweat. They brought wood, made a great fire, and sweated. When they had half finished, the Buzzard Brothers stuck out their flint knives, which cut and killed half of the people. That day after breakfast, they had to play with a big disc. The brothers were told to call for the game and did so. They went out, Bet your brother against 10, said a spirit guardian to the elder brother. The young man began the game. Woodworm all this time was in Son's house with his wife. Buzzard had 10 men. The spirit guardian said, "You roll first." Buzzard rolled after putting up the disc with the help of his brother. Buzzard rolled the disc rather slowly, and the other side stopped it, then sent it back very fast. But Buzzard had something like a brake, with which he stopped and caught the disc. The second time Buzzard rolled the disc very hard. It went so fast that they could not stop it and lost their 10 men. They lost 3 times. Thus, they lost 30 men in all. Buzzard killed the 30 men, cutting them up with his flint feathers, which acted like knives. Next morning, they played with the disc again. Buzzard won twice and killed 20 men. Then they ran a foot race. The racers went to the starting post. On the way back, Buzzard let others go ahead for a while. Behind him, Thunder was running, who tried to kill him, but Buzzard dodged, sometimes up, sometimes down, and at last he killed Thunder, and then killed a good many others. All were angry, and a great fight followed. While the race and fight were going on, Woodworm had gathered all the bones of his friends into a bag and said to the Buzzard brothers, "You go on killing, I will go home." The Buzzard brothers fought the Western people. They followed them eastward for a good while. At last they had to go back. Woodworm reached home, put all the bones in water in the sweat house, came to life again. The end of number 3. Number 4, the House of Silver Fox. When Silver Fox left this world, he said to his sweat house, "Nobody shall ever come in here," and he left a strong wind there to guard the place. No one dares go near the place, for a whirlwind blows up out of it, makes a noise like thunder, and only shamans can go near. But whoever enters is immediately turned to stone inside. Wolf and Silver Fox left their power of wind there. Even now, wolves will catch people that come near, and whoever gets inside turns to white rock. Once a shaman dreamed of a wolf that was in that sweat house. He went in. As soon as he got inside, the wind stopped. He went around and vomited blood. He said it was an immense sweat house, as much as a mile across inside. When he came out, he fell down nearly dead. Another shaman cured him. He had seen nothing inside but men turned to stone. That night, the shaman's hair turned as white as snow. The end of number 4. Number 5 and the last story in this series. Fishhawk and his daughter. Fishhawk lived down the river. When the son traveled in winter, he left his daughter at home, but he carried her about with him in summer. Son did not want his daughter to marry any poor person, but a great man like Pine Marten, Wolf, or Coyote. Fishhawk got angry because he talked in this way of poor people. So he started and went down to the ocean, to Son's place. and slipped into the sweat house. It was winter now, and Sun's daughter was put away inside the house in a basket. Fishhawk stole her, carried her on his back to Coyote's house, and hid her away. He made the journey in one night. Next morning, Sun could not find his daughter and did not know where she had gone. That morning, Fishhawk took the basket with the woman in it and put it away under the rocks in muddy water to hide it so that Sun could not see and could not find his daughter. Sun searched everywhere in the air and on the ground, but could not find her. Then he hired all men who were good divers or swimmers to hunt in the water, for he thought she was hidden in the water. All searched until they came to Pit River. One would search part of the way, then another. Kingfisher was the last to go in search of her. He went along slowly to look where the water was muddy. At last he thought he saw just a bit of something under the water. Then he went over the place carefully again and again. Many people were going along the river, watching these men looking for Sun's daughter. Kingfish filled his pipe, smoked, and blew on the water to make it clear, for he was a great shaman. Then he went up in the air and came down over the place. The people were all excited and thought surely he would find something. He came along slowly and sat and smoked again and blew the smoke over the water. Then he rose, rolled up his pipe and tobacco and put them away. Then he took a long pole, stood over the water, pushed his pole down deep, and speared with it until he got hold of the basket and pulled it out. Old Sun came, untied the basket, took his daughter out, washed her, and put her back. He paid each of the men he had hired. Part of their pay was in shells. Kingfisher said that it was Fishhawk who had hidden the basket. Sun put the basket on his back and started home. He was so happy to get his daughter back that he did no harm to Fishhawk for stealing her. The end. And that's also the end of that series too. So next week we'll have another series with in another book from someplace else. But thus ends the stories of the Akomawi and the Atsugiwi.
Wow, another book finished. Can you believe that?
Yep. Not too many stories in this one, but some interesting stories, you know. Yep. Always amazed at the stories, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And the Buzzard brothers, their feathers were flint.
Yeah, ain't that something? They could cut you right up.
Yep.
Sounds good. Anyway, cards tonight.
Yep, I've already pulled them.
Nice.
While you were yapping earlier.
Yeah, I know. I thought I heard you shuffle them.
Yeah, several times. Yeah, you know I'm just kidding with you, but while you were talking, let's see, wait, number 29. So card tonight, but I kind of understand 29. Let's see. I'll get to it when I get to it here in a second.
Okay. Just patient, waiting. Figure things out.
So the cards I pulled were as thus: Badger and Dolphin, both right side up. Dog upside down. hummingbird upside down, hawk, which we had last week, right side up, and wolf upside down. So we got two canines upside down, and hawk is the messenger. So when I get to it, it's basically not, it's a card, but it refers to pay attention to the hummingbird and to the wolf is what the hawk means. But anyway, so badger is aggressiveness. And so in the aggressiveness, that badger is vicious and attacks with a powerful aggression. He's quick to anger and quicker to pounce. The power of badger's medicine is aggressiveness and the willingness to fight for what it wants. The very thought of facing a badger makes other animals run for cover. And like skunk, badger's reputation precedes it. Badger is the medicine of many powerful medicine women. For badger is also the keeper of the medicine roots. So that's what's important. It's the medicine of this. An aggressive is the message through here. If badger is a part of your medicine, you are quick to express your feelings. Badger medicine may also part to the aggressive healer, and we all need to be aggressively healing each other. And so the badger medicine aggressive healing is in the cards, and dolphin number 40. So keep in mind aggressive healing. And dolphin is mana, right? So, and we had dolphin the other day too, but this dolphin is right side up. So the mana is all in about, breathing and bringing in breath. So dolphin speaks to us of the breath of life, the only thing that humans cannot go without for very long. Dolphin is the keeper of the sacred breath of life and teaches us how to release emotions through dolphin breath. So the dolphin goes under the water, swims around for a while, comes up and goes, and lets water go up. Dolphin creates rhythm, swimming through the water and breathing before submerging. The dolphin, mana is life force. Mana is present in every atom and is Great Spirit's essence. Dolphin teaches us how to use life mana through our breath. So what's the first one? Aggressive healing. And dolphin's talking about breathing. Aggressive healing through breathing. And through breathing, and understanding the mana, the breath of life. Next card, dog is upside down, number 14. Dog is about loyalty, I think. So aggressive healing. I was right, loyalty. Yay me. We haven't had dog in a while, I don't think. But so all of the Southwest and Plains Indian tribes had dogs. These noble animals would often give warning signals of approaching danger. They helped in the hunt and were a great source of warmth in the long winter nights. Dog has been considered the servant of humanity throughout history. If a person carries dog medicine, he or she is usually serving others or serving humanity in some way. But dog is upside down and in the contrary position this time. In the contrary position, dog may be telling you that you have become critical or mean due to the company you may be keeping. The reversal of this medicine could also imply that it is time to stop cowering with fear. I would take this one. So that you need to, to be aggressive with your medicine, of learning how to breathe and heal, and that you should stop cowering in fear. I would go with that one. The next one up is Hummingbird, number 44. And Hummingbird is upside down. Hummingbird is joy. And Hummingbird is associated with the ghost shirt religion. It's taught that a certain dance done properly would bring about the return of the animals, and that white people would disappear. Now, but the hummingbird is upside down, and so that if contrary hummingbird is in your cards in any configuration, it speaks to you of matters of the heart. How or why has your heart center been closed? Have you done something callous to another? Or has somebody else done something to you that's caused you to have your heart close off? The contrary hummingbird may presage sorrow and the inability to see the many blessings that we two-leggeds have been given. If contrary hummingbird sings its forlorn song, perhaps you should journey into your personal pain and know that your sorrow is your joy in another reflection. So, there, with all the things that are going on now, everything is a trial and a tribulation. But remember that, there is still joy in that. And the last one, oh no, we got two more. Oh, Hawk is the messenger. And Hawk was straight up. So the message is saying that the next card up, which is Wolf, number 15. And I think that has to do with pack. Nope, sorry, teacher. So Wolf is the pathfinder and the forerunner of new ideas, who returns to the clan to teach and share medicine. So the hawk is the messenger that you are, so the messenger is telling you, okay, teachers, get ready, because we're going to need aggressive medicine. Then it's going to, we all have to learn how to breathe again. Dog is cowering fear. So we got to learn how to breathe again and get over our fears. And Hawk is showing us as the messenger that, well, we've got a lot of teaching going on. We're going to be taught some things. In the great star nation, Wolf is represented by the dog star Sirius. And dog was in the cards tonight along with it. Sirius was thought to be the home of the gods by the ancients. The senses of Wolf are very keen, and the moon is its power ally. The moon is a symbol for psychic energy, or the unconscious that holds the secrets of knowledge and wisdom. If you've drawn the Wolf card, you may be able to share your personal medicine with others. Be the teacher. And so, thus, the cards, we had 6 of them today. So, deep breath. Yes. Don't cower in fear. Be aggressive in the healing. Keep breathing. Dolphin and dog, Dolphin showed up twice along with Hawk. So, that to me is like, keep breathing, and Hawk's still sending us the message. So that's, to me, that's like a reinforcement. But anyway, so how'd I do?
You did pretty.
Those were pretty good cards. There wasn't anything negative there.
Nope, nothing negative. I like it. So good stuff especially with all the stuff's going around in the world. And I encourage everybody to go to your channel and watch that video you made, which was short, which is good, about being stupid. That was good. I really enjoyed
that. That's one that you could share. It's a short one. It's only about 10 minutes, I think.
I know. I liked it. I was like, well, that's a short one, but you got right to the point, and yep, I agree. But I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah. And it just came to me. It was just like, there are so many of us that are being led by the nose, and that folks just think we're stupid. I mean, with all things, just look outside and read the news and listen to stuff. I mean, those folks out there just think we're plumb stupid. And please don't buy into it. We aren't. They are. They're stupid that we're going to buy at this time.
So it's all good. It's all good. Gotta love it. Yeah, and the craziness with the world, you need those cards. I think Joanne says she says about getting a card pulled for her, and I'm like, yeah, we should have a card pulling day here coming up. I got to get a hold of Pearl. She likes to come on and pull cards. So I think.
And I owe folks a card pulling session too.
Yeah. We haven't pulled cards in quite a while. Maybe I get you.
No, I haven't. I haven't. You got to be in the right mood. And between my heart issues and other stuff, I just haven't. The times that I felt like doing a live stream, I did not feel like pulling cards. You know what I mean? So it's and I regret it. I wish that I felt better, but when you don't have the connection, pulling cards is just not in the cards.
Yeah, well, it takes a lot of energy to pull cards. I swear. I never thought about it until I started doing it, and I was like, oh man, it takes energy. I mean, it zaps the energy right out of you.
It's tougher than it looks. you know. So if my energy level's already low because of my medicines and such, to try to round up more energy to pull cards is like I would love to.
All right. Well, anyway, great show tonight. We're hitting about the 2-hour mark, which is okay. And another good show in the bag. And remember, everybody, go out and get yourself one of these Milky Way shirts. You got different varieties. You got one here with Brian on. You got one with me on. And then you got ones with just me on. It says Milky Way Soul Tribe and my name. So anyway, go over to Nina's channel. Link is in the description below. Check them out. Get yourself a shirt. Support the channel. And you, too, can be wearing a Milky Way Soul Tribe shirt with my picture on your chest. And go figure. And there's hoodies now. I got to go over there and get a hoodie. Winter's coming up. Fall's coming up. Go get yourself a hoodie for the year. Anyway, let's see. What else was I going to say? Things are going on. Hopefully they all square away. Here's my biggest thing. I watch news quite a bit, but don't panic. Don't have fear. Tomorrow will be just another day where the sun comes up. Right?
And if nuclear war, if somebody pushes the button, you only got 6 minutes to think about it anyway. And so the best thing you can do is bend over and kiss your ass goodbye.
That's the thing. And, the more I do study on it, everybody isn't going to die from this. If you're smart, you'll make it through. It's not a life-ending thing. It's going to be bad for a while. But, after a while, things will get better. And life will go on. It's another day in the Milky Way. Exactly. JoJo's got it. Another day in the Milky Way. Yeah, and that's the thing. Don't watch the things go off. and then go outside and stare at the bright lights because you burn your eyes out. Don't go outside and let the radiation fall on you. Go inside and stay in there for a week or two and then come outside. And you know what? You might be okay. Hopefully you got a little food and water in the house, and you can survive without air conditioning or electricity for about a week or two. And eventually the stuff will come back on. Then everything will go back to normal in a while. Might take a while, but things will go back to normal. And then
but normal's going to, we have to remember this too, though, that if a big event comes, it will never return to normal, because normal will change. Just like after all the COVID, things have returned to normal, but they ain't normal.
Yeah, it'll be different. But maybe on the other side, people will wake up and say, we probably shouldn't have done that. And it won't be good for a while, but people will realize that this was not the thing to do. And maybe then the world will put away those nuclear weapons and say, this is not the way to fight, because you're fighting an invisible enemy. You push a button here and people die over there. They push a button over there and people die over here. Well, who's winning? Nobody wins, right?
Because the two nuclear bombs going off, if only two go off, is going to set a nuclear winter off in the atmosphere that's going to affect the entire planet, mostly the northern hemisphere, by the way, but it's going to affect the entire planet. So who wants to affect the entire planet? If one side sets the other side off, everybody's going to be affected. It ain't just going to be one or the other. Yeah, it's not. No. But here's the thing, though, and if you can, for all the things that you can still prepare for, be more worried about the oligarchs shutting down the money system. So take what money that you can and continue to buy some canned goods and things to get you by, in case they're crazy enough to shut all of the systems down like they did through the pandemic. So, if you can buy a couple of extra jars of mayonnaise or whatever is your favorite condiment, that you might think you might run out of, or buy another roll or two of toilet paper. Remember how we all ran out? So it might be that you will do those types of things to assure yourself that if it does get tight, those are the types of things that are going to run out first. Remember that. They've already run a dry section. They ran a dry run with some of this stuff with us already to see how we would react. So take what you learned, if you've learned any wisdom at all, and prepare for that. That's the key these days.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. Totally agree. Be prepared. Be a little prepared. Don't be scared. And with that, remember, in the meantime, be nice to your neighbor. Be nice to yourself. Remember, the most important thing is to be frequency you want to receive, everybody. Love you all. Peace, everybody.
Cheers.